Welcome to Precious Metals, and behind me is my 2003 Lamborghini Murcielago. Naturally aspirated, 3-pedal, straight pipe V12. And you can see her in her natural habitat right now, which is the lift. If you're expecting some sort of cinematic, crazy edited video, this one won't be for you. This is just an update to my previous video on what happened to the car and why it is in the current status that it is. Alrighty, and this is cool. This is what you visualize when you think about owning one. Oh yeah. In we go. Well, it's pretty smooth. Why hello there and welcome to my Murcielago. We're sitting in the interior, which is in the exact same position as it was last time. However, a lot has actually changed. The water pump is now out of the car. That has been a long process because, believe it or not, this is a shocker. The Lamborghini service manual is not very accurate. It oversimplifies the process of removing the water pump, which doesn't sound horrible, but as you go through it, you're met with a lot of different surprises. Lots of external components need to be removed. There are parts that just are in the way of even just removing other parts, so those need to come out. So it's been a long process, a lot of labeling, a lot of documentation to make sure everything goes back together the same way it came apart. And the Lamborghini manual isn't very helpful for either end of that. But, like I said, the water pump's out, which is great. While rebuilding, it's an option. Don't want to cut any corners as it's been rebuilt before. So a new one has been ordered and is on the way. So this is a beautiful Italian paperweight. And I will gladly sell it to you for about $5,000. Why $5,000, you might ask? Well, it's because that is about the cost of this one right here, which is the brand new OEM Lamborghini water pump that is going into the car. This is the one that was in the car when it failed. You can see here, this is the pulley that belongs on this water pump. It should be press fit about like so on here and is held on by friction. Obviously the press fit failed and led to the current situation of the Murcielago being on the lift. All jokes aside, I'm actually grateful for the way it worked out, as much as one can be, because this remained with the car. It didn't fling about, nothing else got damaged. The deck lid, all the heat shielding, none of those things got dented or damaged, which obviously could be a lot more expensive, but I can think of a lot of other ways that I'd rather spend $5,000. So fingers crossed though, now that we are here, this little guy will go in a lot easier than this guy was coming out. I'm not optimistic though. And unfortunately, the financial pains of owning the Murcielago didn't stop with the $5,000 water pump. They continued on to all of these lovely Lamborghini taped boxes. The presentation almost makes it worth it. So what you're looking at here is a new gasket to go along the oil pan of the car, and unfortunately Lamborghini values that at $100 for a gasket. What is crazy though is these little guys here, which look like they'd be pretty significant, are about $2 a piece, which is way cheaper than you could probably get an equivalent part at, an auto parts store. However, these on the other end of the spectrum are $5 a piece. So there's about $100 worth of OEM bolts here that could easily be obtained from a automotive hardware store for far less than that. But since the car is apart, going in and replacing a lot of the hardware that's just a little tired with it being 2003 the right way, unfortunately. So Lamborghini gets to steal a few more of my dollars, much to my dismay. Along that same theme, the oil pan needs to be replaced on the car. Well, I say needs to be replaced. A previous mechanic damaged one of the drain plugs on it, so it still works for oil changes, but it's a little bit more of a pain in the butt. So this little finely Lamborghini taped fella also gets to join in on the fun at a cost of about $2,000. It's a pinch over. So that with the water pump, all sorts of miscellaneous hardware in all of these fun, lovely little boxes, means that the Murcielago only continues to take an emotional and financial drain on me. So you join me as we look up the skirt of the 6.2 liter V12 that powers this beautiful piece of Italian engineering. As you can see, a lot of it's missing. The car doesn't even have headlights. The vents have been removed for aerodynamic purposes, of course. No, all sorts of components have had to have been removed to get the water pump out from under there. Unfortunately, it doesn't come out very easily, and the manual's, like I said earlier, not the best at illustrating the procedures to do so. So as you can see here, this is where the large carbon fiber rear wing, which is not factory, is mounted. You can see the drill holes here and here, and it had to be removed along with a whole bunch of the rear components of the car because there was some heat shielding in the way of getting parts out there. Consequently, the deck lid, kind of rear external panel that has the original factory motorized wing, had to be removed, and none of those things would come off without removing this rear wing. So we had the privilege of taking all of that apart, and currently it's found its new home right there. You can see the tail lights, the deck lid panel I referenced earlier, and the large black object is the carbon fiber wing. So all of those components don't stay there while we work on the car. Obviously we keep it protected, keep the paint in good shape, but hopefully it goes together a little easier than it came apart. However, it's hard to beat this beautiful Italian mug and, of course, the scissor doors and manual transmission. So as frustrating as the car is to work on, unfortunately, she always manages to win me back. However, I do think the greatest lesson that you can learn from my experiences with this car is not to buy a different Murcielago, but to buy a Gallardo, or if you're feeling edgy, Ferrari might be your thing. And Corvettes always work too. All good options. Though this one is the poster car and certainly the full Italian supercar experience. So as you can see, there's definitely been a lot of progress made. Hopefully you guys are enjoying seeing it more than I am working on the car. It's a treat. But please like, share, subscribe. Plenty more content on the way. The C8's coming very shortly. This car should be on the roadway and hopefully next month and a half or so. Both the Maserati and Corvettes have had some modifications done on them, wraps, all sorts of things. So lots and lots of hopefully interesting content headed your way. Thank you. And if Lamborghini's not your thing and you can't think of another replacement for the Murcielago, here's another car that's better built and still fun to drive.